Hello, good people, and welcome to Hillbilly Cat History. Linda walks in. Hi, Gun. Hi, Big Money Mike. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. We're going to get started with a song before we re-enter 1972, and this song is Threads and Dreams.
Black pants in the sun, rode horses through silence, then golf carts for fun. A ranch just 10 miles from the mansion's bright gate, where the myth met the morning and time learned to wait. George fixed the brickwork, the pipes in the ground, lit VP on shirt where no spotlight was found. Donna kept diaries, snapshots ahead of a father who labored, of a myth made by men. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a crown, just a place to be still when the world spun around. In the hands of the quiet, in the stitch of a scene, he carried the weight of a half-finished dream. The holster was worn, the leather was cracked, BP etched in thread, no glory attached. Mike shaped the saddle, the belt and the Lord, so Elvis could ride through a myth he adored. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a crown, just a place singing still, decoration spun out. In the hang out the fight, the mistakes on the sea, we drained the weight of the hearts and his teeth. Snowstorms in March, to fairgrounds at night. He chased beasts in motion and shadow and light. And Priscilla saw him, silhouette aglow, breathing in twilight, steady and slow. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a throne, just laughter at breakfast, a place to call home. In the hush of the ranch, in the hands of the crew, they found what was real, and he gave it to you.
Thank you all for gathering here at Hillbilly Cat History, where we remember together and listen for the echoes. And today we got more echoes coming from the Memphian. But of course, we've got to hear the echoes from the bookshelf first. What's on the bookshelf? And we start this segment with a non-Elvis related book. Just something that's on the bookshelf behind me. And then we look at an Elvis related book. Today's non-Elvis book is Sex Lives of the Roman Emperors by Nigel Cawthorne. And it does have a very tabloid kind of name. Sex Lives of the Roman Emperors. A behind-the-scenes look at the extraordinary antics of Roman emperors Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, Nero, Domitian, Hadrian, Elagabalus, and Constantine gives us an unusual angle on ancient history. Now, I've got to be honest, I've read this book. It is one of the ones I've read. I love Roman history stuff. And this isn't nearly as sensational or salacious as it sounds, although this carving that they have on the cover is very suggestive. But this is a quality work of history. This guy's gone back and he really does like some other kind of Roman history, and he's taken these bits and put them together in order to appeal to the general public. And then he's been able to sell this book that way. They printed it in a small size, which I think means they saved some money on it, and then they were able to sell it at a fairly normal price. And I think everybody made more money that way. I can't be sure. I've never actually worked with a publisher other than myself. So that is the non-Elvis book. And Big Money Mike is saying that his own family tree was traced back to Sir William Wallace, which I believe is the guy from Braveheart, right? Wasn't that Mel Gibson? Now, today's Elvis book is Taking Care of Elvis by nurse Tish Hensley. Memories with Elvis as his private nurse and friend by Letitia Tish Henley Kirk. And that's a picture of Tish about the time that she wrote the book. And, of course, Elvis from much earlier. This book is not a standard-sized book. You might be able to tell that from what I'm showing in the camera. There's the back of the book with another picture of Tish. And it says, I was Elvis's nurse from 1968 through 1977. Not only was he my patient, but a dear and close friend. For many years, I never entertained the thought of a book by me. However, I attended an Elvis event in 2012 and had my eyes open to the hunger that the caring, loving, loyal, and dedicated fans have for knowledge of Elvis as a person in normal, everyday settings. I do hope this book of short stories opens your mind and spirit to the loving, caring, and intelligent personality of your idol and friend Elvis Presley by Letitia Tish Henley Kirk. And inside this particular edition, it is signed and it says, to Matt, with the love of Elvis, Letitia Tish Henley Kirk, TCE. So I did meet Tish and she signed the book. I bought it from her. Same time that I saw Donna. In fact, Tish was at the same place. She was, suddenly the names escape me, but it's the restaurant, Marlowe's. There was a breakfast at Marlowe's and Donna and Tish were both there. And so I got to meet them both at that moment. And Francis is asking if I know if Tish is still living. I don't, but I haven't heard that she passed away either, that I remember. Hi, Luann. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. So let's now move on over to 1972. We can get back to the story of Linda Thompson and Elvis as they meet at the Memphian. And Big Money Mike is saying one of his favorite items he got when Elvis performed near his hometown in Charleston, West Virginia, is a washcloth that his aunt got from Elvis's room that he stayed in while performing. It's amazing how people got into those rooms and everything disappeared after Elvis was in there. Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you. I think what happened a lot of times, too, is that the hotel would take the items and they would sell them. Like they'd become merchandise in the lobby. Wouldn't last very long. July 24th, 1976 is when Mike's saying that happened. That's very interesting. So we are in Memphis. It's 1972. And Linda walks in and Elvis falls hard. And Gunn's saying that it's interesting that Pamela's mentioning that they're going to change time at the end of the month. You know, we change time sometime during this month too. And Gunbrit's noting that it only changes in the summertime in Sweden. That's very interesting. I had no idea about that some places only change once. But there is going to be a change later this month, so everybody get ready for it. I know it threw a lot of people off last time. I think the UK and Europe change before we do, or maybe it's after, I don't know, but it's not at the same weekend. And so there's going to be like a week or two where it's really weird, and then everything's going to line up again. And Francis is saying this weekend is the time change. That's in the US or in Europe? I never keep up with anything, so I have no idea. Don't get any news here. I don't have any idea what is happening in the world. But back in the past, where Linda is at the Memphian, and she's met Elvis, and they're getting ready to leave. This is the doors to the Memphian. Now, it says the Playhouse because I don't know if that's what it's called now, but that's what it was called for a while, at least. Might still be called the Playhouse. But this is where Elvis would have had to go in because they locked the side or the back door, wherever it was. So he was a little bit irritated when he came in. This is where Linda would have come in herself. She met George Klein just on the other side of these doors. And Elizabeth saying it's in the U.S. and she knows because she has to start work Sunday and it's already is thinking about it. I understand that. My problem is always wake up that day. Oh my gosh. Hopefully the clock's already changed. Things happen so automatically now because the towers download to the phones and online makes all that memory stuff so much easier. But if you're not paying attention, suddenly you've lost an hour of sleep or you've gained one. Of course, this time we're going to lose it. And Gunbrit's saying they don't have to change time, but people want to because of the sun and lighter days. There's always a fight here about whether we should ever change back. And I guess somehow it's all based on Greenwich Mean Time. I don't know why Greenwich gets to run the world on time, but apparently they do. Here's a picture of Elvis. I believe he's inside the Memphian. because of that red on the ground. I think that's a carpet. So I think that is the lobby of the Memphian sometime in the 1960s. Probably early, like 60, 61, 62. That's, I think, when he was wearing those captain's caps. I could be wrong about that. And of course, he could have moved back into them at any time. But he's got that vest on and kind of a normal sports coat. These are just expensive, fine clothes, but they're not show clothes. And Elizabeth saying that Arizona doesn't change time either, but they have to be aware because of the rest of the country. Hi, Tammy. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. This is the Malco Theater. Now, what does the Malco Theater have to do with the Memphian? Well, eventually the Malco will become the Memphian. This is 1930, the Malco Theater. This is the Memphian before it was remodeled into the Memphian. Frances says she always liked Elvis in that hat. Luann says that Elvis always fixes things. So why are we going all the way back to 1930 to the Malco, the Memphian? What's that got to do with where we're at today in the story in 1972? Well, yesterday I asked, why didn't Linda ever mention any popcorn? If I'd gone, I'd want to get some of that free popcorn because, you know, Elvis paid for it for everybody. And Elizabeth says she might have to start listening to my videos at an earlier time. That might give you an opportunity to listen to them twice. Not that I'm encouraging anybody to listen multiple times to my videos, but 8, 9, 10 times, that would probably be okay. But the Malco here in 1930, this is the inside, and it's still pretty much like this when Elvis and Linda are sitting there, I guess without any popcorn. But here's a popcorn machine, and there's some guy standing next to it. Who is this guy, and what is this popcorn machine? Does it connect to this story? This man is Kimmons Wilson. He's famous, but you may not know who he is. At the age of 17, Kimmons, he made up his mind. You know, he lived in Memphis. He made up his mind he would never be poor again. Now, that sounds like another Memphis kid that we know at age 17 made kind of the same vow. But Kimmons here, he wasn't a great singer. He wasn't Elvis. He couldn't get out there and be Elvis. And this was many years before Elvis. But Kimmons says, I decided I had to quit school to try and make us a living. My mother thought I should stay in school, but she couldn't stop me from dropping out. At the time, it was more important to me to eat than it was to get an education. So here we see a guy that grew up in Memphis in the generation before Elvis, and he had to make the same choice at age 17 as a senior in high school as Elvis did. Stay and finish, get that diploma, or take care of your family, take care of your mom. So he chose to take care of his mom. Now, we know that Gladys was more forceful, apparently, than Kimmons' mother. Or perhaps, I don't know where Kimmons' father was. Maybe it's just because she had Vernon. But they decided Elvis was going to get that diploma. This man didn't have that opportunity. He had to go to work. Kimmons says that he had always loved the movies. And he often did odd jobs at the Memphian Theater, which at this point in time would have been the Malco. And in return for admission to see the feature film, he would do jobs like cleaning up and whatever else that they had to do in kind of a menial way. And in 1930, he realized that the theater was not offering snacks for sale to patrons. Basically, you went in and watched a movie, and that was the end of the transaction. And Kimmons thought, I see another revenue stream here. Hi, Patty. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. Kimmons says, I got to thinking that I could sell popcorn there. So I talked to the manager, and he talked to his boss. That would be the guy that owns the theater. And they finally decided I could put a popcorn machine out front. Then I went down to see Tom O'Brien at United Fixture and Scale Company. So this would have been like probably a warehouse where they had a whole bunch of industrial type equipment like scales and fixtures and other big machinery for sale. Kimmons says, I told Tom I wanted to buy a popcorn machine, and he showed me one he had for $50. So I don't know if that was a new popcorn machine or a used one, but $50 in 1930, it's a good dollar amount. And Francis says that Elvis was a wonderful son. He took care of Gladys, and wishes that Gladys could have lived longer because she believes Elvis's life would have been different. He may have been with us longer. And she put her foot down when he said he wasn't going to finish high school. She said he had to do it, and she went out to pick cotton with her older sister, Aunt Lillian. Now, Lillian was like 9 or 10 years older than Gladys, so that's some rough work for those two ladies. And Gladys did it so that Elvis could graduate. But here's Kimmons with his popcorn machine. I'm assuming the one we see in the picture is very similar, if not the same one that he bought. But he got it for the $50. And he says, I started selling popcorn for a nickel a bag, and I did well. I got to where I was making $40 to $50 a week. $40 or $50 a week at a nickel a bag. That's 20 bags per dollar. That is a lot of bags of popcorn to sell, but apparently this man is selling them. And that's a huge revenue stream for the movie theater because they've been consistently living on whatever the price of the seats were and however many they filled. This possibly doubles or triples their intake, but they're not getting any of it. It's all going into Kimmons' pocket. Kimmons says the theater manager was only making $25 a week. The theater manager kept counting the sacks I was selling. Finally, he came to me one day and he said he was taking the job away from me. I remember telling my mother then that I was going to get myself a movie theater and nobody else was ever going to take my popcorn machine away from me. So I don't know if the guy got to keep the popcorn machine or how that happened, but his smart idea made him a bunch of money and then he got ousted. And he had to go figure out a different way to make money. And Francis says, wow, now popcorn's around $12 a bag. That's true. 5 cents, a nickel a bag, and now it's $12. That theater manager sure learned a good lesson from Kimmons. So this guy, he was serving that popcorn, and during that period, although I don't know how long it was there, he said that was 1930, so I'm thinking a couple of years max. But Gene Gill of Pasadena, California says, I remember seeing Gone with the Wind at the Memphian in 1940. Now in 1940, it would have still been the Malco. But Gene says, I was only 7 years old, but still vividly remember this experience. 2 years later, I saw Bambi here and cried like all the other kids in the audience. So a 7-year-old saw Gone with the Wind, remembers it, but it must have been a very difficult movie for the kid to make it through. I don't know if you've ever seen Gone with the Wind, but it's kind of long. But then he saw Bambi. Now, I saw Bambi when I was a kid in the theaters too. I wasn't around in 1940. They replayed it in the theaters quite often. So Disney'd call it pulling it out of the vault or something. And I saw it in sometime in the early 80s. But every kid in the theater was crying. This guy's right about that. And Walter Bolton says in the mid 1960s, the Malco turned into the Memphian, a first-run theater. So apparently there was some money invested into the Memphian around the 1960s, and that's about the time that the stories start about Elvis renting it. There are some from before, but that means it must have been the Malco, and I never hear stories about Elvis renting the Malco. But let's not leave Kimmons here hanging. What did he do? How did he find to make money later? Well, he started a little business, little motel kind of thing called the Holiday Inn, and made millions and billions of dollars. I don't know how much he made, but it was a lot. Now, somebody invested with him, and they made a whole lot of money too, and that would be Sam Phillips from Sun Records. Sam made most of his money through the Holiday Inn and not through his own projects, although some of them did net him profits. But he reinvested a lot of those into the Holiday Inn, and he made a killing. And Francis says, "Aw, Bambi." And Gunbrit says, "Gone with the Wind. She'll never forget Clark Gable saying, 'Frankly, my dear, I don't give a darn.'" And Luann says that cinemas and the movies, or whatever they call them now, are so expensive today. That's true. Here's Ken doing something with the Holiday Inn. This is where he's making just dollar after dollar after dollar. Holiday Inn still all over America today. And Pat says that she liked the newer movie of Gone with the Wind. I didn't even know there was a newer movie. I knew there was a Scarlet. I knew there was a book, and I thought maybe they'd made a movie out of it. It was a sequel, but I didn't know about a new Gone with the Wind. That's interesting. How does Kimmons tie into 1972? Well, he's on the front of Time magazine. Innkeeper Kimmons Wilson, June 12th, 1972. This is just a few weeks before Elvis meets Linda, July 6th, 1972. They might have both read this magazine. And of course, Elvis, he would have probably known Kimmons. I believe he did know him personally. Certainly Sam does. Elvis is still friendly with Sam most of his life. I mean, all of his life, as far as I know. He doesn't stay in constant contact with him, but he's always aware of what Sam's doing. And eventually Kimmons retired, and this is his retirement party. I have no idea why he's on the floor. I think that's his wife with him. I think that's a painting of himself in front of him. Looks like a watercolor. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's commercial time for Hillbilly Cat History. I have been able to release my album there are some caveats. It is all done. It's ready to go. You can purchase it in CD or in vinyl. It's got 12 of the hit songs that you love from this program. This is what I am terming the European release. It is a worldwide release. They will ship it anywhere in the world. They print it in London. The shipping, I believe, in the UK is like $2 or $3 or $4 or something like that. I don't know for sure. I think it's a little more to the rest of Europe. To make it all the way back to the US, it climbs up to around $13 or $14 or perhaps more. So if you're in the UK or Europe, this might not be too bad a deal. It's a little pricey if you're in the US. I'm looking for a US distributor, but they don't have one that'll do everything these guys do. But I don't want to delay the release on this. When you go to the website, which is elasticstage.com, Hillbilly Cat History, it's / Hillbilly Cat History, you'll get to this page. You click on the little CD box. I'll put it in the chat just in case anybody wants it. And then you click on that box and it's going to open up this page where you can see the CD and you can pick out whether you want vinyl or CD. And I'm doing this because right now I am going to have a debut party or a launch party where I'll do another live stream. We'll play through every song that's on the CD, on the release. But right now, Elastic Stage, the people who are actually manufacturing and shipping the product, they take the cash. They're offering a 15% off sale right now through March 15th with this code March15. So I put that in the chat as well. So if you did want to purchase this product, especially if you're living in the UK or Europe, and you use the code March15 before March 15th, I believe it's going to give you 15% off. Now, full disclosure, I have not received a copy of this to review it. Elastic Stage does guarantee its products, so you should be able to return if there was any issues. I've seen a lot of good reviews of this particular site, so I believe they're going to do a good job. This is the first time I've ever released a CD, and if anybody's interested, I've thought about doing a video where I just show you how do you make this happen. And that's the end of the commercial, except to say make sure you like, subscribe to other people about Hillbilly Cat History. And let's get back to the Memphian and Linda Thompson, who's waiting for us. So there's the Memphian. That's what the front of it looks like. This picture is actually from 1977, but it would have been very similar to this. You can see where those doors are in that close-up. You know, it looks like maybe there's some carpet that extends in front of those doors at that time, and that's where Elvis was standing. Because I can see some of those marquee or poster boxes hanging on the wall right there. But I kind of feel like he was inside the lobby. Oh, Luann's asking about Barry Newman. Yes. Amazing, Luann, that you thought of him after we shut off the program. I did mean to say something about him, and then I totally skipped my mind. I forgot to get anything ready. But yeah, it was Barry Newman. So good memory. I wonder if Linda was like dating him or something. I'm gonna have to look more into that. But here's Linda. Now, this particular outfit, which is like a gold, stretchy, I don't know, maybe satiny kind of outfit, it's very, very 1980. Like, not 1979, not 1981. It's very 1980. And I swear that Aaron Gray, who played Wilma, Colonel Wilma Deering on the Buck Rogers show at the same time in 1980, that she wore something that was like almost identical to this. Bye, Francis. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for coming. And Pamela says that my CD's coming out on the Ides of March. No, it's out now. You can go and look at it and purchase it now. It's that the sale ends on March 15th. So if you use the code March 15, then they'll give you 15% off. But it's out. It's actually been out for a few days, like about a week. I just haven't mentioned it because I was trying to find an American distributor so I could announce it all at the same time, but I'm going to have to put together like two different pieces, two different vendors to make that happen. So I am working on it and it's going to happen. But right now, I don't want to delay this because they're offering that sale. Now, here's a whole bunch of matchbooks from the city of Memphis. Start with the Catfish Corner Restaurant. What do a bunch of matchbooks have to do with this story? So after the film ended and everybody began to depart, Elvis just kept sitting next to Linda. And he said, "Honey, I don't know where you've been all my life, but I'm really happy I met you, and I want to see you again. I want you to come to Graceland tomorrow night. Meet my daddy." And Linda said, "Oh, we're going on vacation tomorrow night with my aunt and uncle, but I can come for a while anyway." And Elvis says, "Yeah, I want to show you Graceland. I want you to meet my daddy." I don't think Linda realizes how big a deal it is that Elvis wants her to meet Vernon. And then Elvis says, "What's your number?" Now, in the vernacular of 1972, that means, what is your phone number? As in, there's some place that you're normally at and that has a phone that I can call that people might take a message for you, or you'll be at an answer. Because nobody had a cell phone. That wasn't a thing. Wouldn't be a thing for many, many years. And Linda says, "Well, I don't have a pen or a piece of paper." So Elvis can't have her phone number because she doesn't have anything to write it down. I guess she doesn't think he can remember it if she just says it to him. Now, if she was talking to me, she'd be correct. I cannot remember a string of numbers. Even a 2-digit string of numbers, I cannot remember. So there was a need to find something to write this down on. And Big Money Mike is saying that Elvis didn't have time to kill. He needed to get this number. And Luann says she wonders why it is that only model women got to meet Elvis. Well, I think you'd have to ask T.G. Shepard, who's the one that invited Linda and Jeannie LeMay, the two Miss Universes, Rhode Island and Tennessee, because he could have invited somebody else, but he chose to invite the beautiful beauty queens. And Elizabeth says that she cannot remember a string of numbers either. I can't remember people's names either, so it's not just the string of numbers. I have very selective hearing, it turns out, most of the time. Some people around me say, I got a lot of things like that going on. But right now, Elvis needs to write down a number. And Joe Esposito comes to the rescue. He supplies a pen and a book of matches. Now, what book of matches did Joe provide? I don't know. That's why I've offered you a cornucopia of various matchbooks that maybe Joe had, because this was Memphis. And these are from Memphis. You can see one says number 1 Beale Street. One says the Real McCoys. One says the Bombay Bicycle Club. We got a Mud Island. We got a world famous rendezvous, Charles Verga's world famous rendezvous, Ali's Chinese cuisine, Cadillac. So if you went to buy a Cadillac, well, you'd probably want to smoke some cigarettes, and they got you covered on the matches. Asiana Garden, Tempo's, I'm not sure what that is, probably some kind of restaurant. X Lines Pizza, Memories, which I think is a bar, like a piano bar or something. I don't know if these were all open and around in 1972, but it's just an interesting look at the city. Elvis wrote himself the number as Linda dictated it. Elvis took the pen, he took the matchbook, he wrote the number down. It's not till much later that Linda understands that this is not what Elvis does. Elvis never writes notes down in front of people. Joe does that. That's why Joe Esposito is there. That's why Joe Esposito carries a pad of paper. Matchbook. Apparently, Joe does not have a pad of paper with him. A notebook. He's got a matchbook. But now Elvis has the number, and Elvis says, I'll call you. And Linda says, okay, we'll come over tomorrow night. And then Elvis kissed Linda. And I'm assuming that's with those marshmallow lips that Linda talked about earlier. And Gunbrit's asking, didn't Elvis meet girls at the gates sometimes? Sometimes he did. The gates of Graceland. And Big Buddy Mike says the other day he couldn't even remember his old cell phone number. I can remember my number, my phone number from when I was a kid. I can't remember my number right now. So Elvis, he takes them outside. He escorts them out of the Memphian and back to Linda's car. We're going to slide through some pictures over here on the left-hand corner. And we will find, here's a Vega. That's the kind of car Linda's driving. This is the kind of car that Elvis takes her out to. There's another one that might have been more like she had, but she might have had the sportier model, more like this one. And then he kisses her a final time that night, and then they drive off home. And that's it. They leave. And they go back to Linda's aunt's house. Now, here's some more matchbooks. Maybe these are the ones that Elvis wrote her number in. I think these are older, though. They're from the Hotel Chickasaw, Memphis. Now, Chickasaw, why would you want to know about that? Why am I bringing that up? Because that's the hotel that WHBQ, they transmitted from, as Dewey Phillips would say, the magazine lobby. Or level, the magazine level. It's the mezzanine level. And Dewey Phillips would always say it was the Chickasaw Hotel. But it's the Hotel Chickasaw. as you can see here. Lamar Fike, one of his many origin stories of when he met Elvis, one of them occurs here at the Hotel Chiska. George Klein, he worked in this building at WHBQ in that broadcast booth for Dewey Phillips. He was like Dewey Phillips' gopher. But the hotel, they got their own matchbooks and they got free parking, just in case you were interested in visiting, at least in the 1950s. And Big Money Mike says on the magazine floor. This is the Hotel Chiska, or Chiska. I don't really know how to pronounce it. And, of course, Dewey Phillips, he probably did, but he pretended that he didn't. So this would have been probably the 1920s into the 1930s is when this postcard depiction is from. But it gives you an idea of what the building looks like. I do not believe it's there anymore. I believe this has been completely replaced by something. Don't know for sure, though. So if you're an expert on Memphis, put it in the chat, put it in the comments, and let us know. Is this still there? It's a really important piece of Elvis history, but I don't think any of us can visit this building, although we might be able to visit the site. So they get back to Linda's aunt's house, and they're very wired. So they got to talk the night over. And they're talking it over with, of course, Linda's aunt, because she's very interested in Elvis meeting these two girls that night. She wants to know all about it. Hi, Sarge. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. So Jeannie says to Linda, she says, I could not believe that you didn't just write your phone number down for him in the biggest block letters. So Jeannie's questioning, why did you make Elvis write down the number? You should have just given it to him on your own. Made sure that he got it. Who knows if he's even still got it in his pocket? And Linda says, I probably won't hear from him again. Oh my God, I can't believe I played that hard to get. So Linda begins to regret that she didn't make it easier for Elvis. But then if she had, Elvis probably wouldn't have been interested in her. I don't think she realized that, at least not at that moment. So Aunt Betty Sue is sitting there with them. It's 4:30 a.m. in the morning. The phone starts ringing. So Aunt Betty Sue, she picks up the phone. And she says, hello? Why, yes. Oh, well, it's lovely to speak to you, Elvis. Yes, she's here. Just one moment, please. Let me get her for you. Nice talking to you. Bye-bye. And Betty placed her hand over the receiver, and she looked at these two beautiful beauty queens, and she said, oh my God, it's him. It's Elvis Presley on my phone. On my phone. Here's a picture of Linda. Not from 1972, a little while later. But here's a phone. This is a wall-mounted 1970s phone. Maybe the kind of phone that Linda was speaking on when she spoke to Elvis on this night. The kind that Betty Sue just picked up. This one's yellow. A lot of them were yellow. The wallpaper is incredible. That's behind it. And certainly late 60s or sometime in the 1970s, I think. Notice that the phone is a rotary dial. That helps date it. So Linda takes the receiver and she places it to her ear and she says, "Hi." And Elvis says, "Hey, honey, I just wanted to tell you one more time. I can't tell you how happy I am to have met you. You're everything I've been looking for. I don't know where you've been all my life, but I'm so happy I met you, and I want to be with you." So if you had received this phone call from Elvis at 4:30 a.m., especially you ladies, how would this have made you feel when he said that he just basically can't stop thinking about you and that he feels like he's always been looking for you? And Elizabeth says that she would be like Betty Sue, all excited about Elvis being on the phone. Sarge says, "Lucky phone call." Linda said, "Well, I'm glad you didn't write my number down wrong and you called. Have you been drinking? You sound very sleepy or something." Now, no matter how Elvis sounded, would you have asked him if he was drinking? I don't know that I would have asked him that. I might have said he sounded sleepy. I'm not even sure I would have noted that. I'd have been like, "Oh, hey, thanks for calling. What else you want to talk about?" But Linda, she asked him if he'd been drinking and if he said he sounded sleepy. And Elvis said, "No, honey, I'm just tired. I really want you to come over tomorrow." And Linda said, "Okay." And Elvis said, "I'm going to get Joe Esposito to call you tomorrow, and he's going to give you all the instructions." Now that's kind of weird, right? Like, how many instructions do you need to get to Graceland? I mean, it would seem obvious to me. You come to the gate, you say, "Elvis is expecting me," and you follow the instructions on parking that the gate guard will give you. But Joe's going to call. He's going to make sure everything's smoothed out. And all the instructions are given. Now, reflecting back in 2016 on meeting Elvis, this is what Linda had to say. Linda said, "I was still a virgin when I met him. I think that is what added to the allure of me for Elvis. Because Elvis was a very territorial man and a very jealous man. It really made him feel wonderful that I was a virgin." And that's the way Linda put it in 2016. Seems like an incredibly open statement, not one that I'm sure I would have made to the public. But Linda did state this. This wasn't in her book. This was something she said out in public to people that went into the press. I mean, it was to the press that she said it, but here's a picture of Linda sometime in I think this is the early 1980s or the very late 70s. This particular outfit that Linda's wearing reminds me of Zsa Zsa Gabor, and specifically maybe Zsa Zsa's sister, Eva Gabor. There was this movie from Disney called The Rescuers that was out in the late 1970s that starred Bob Newhart, and it was one of the Gabor sisters. I can't remember if it was Zsa Zsa or Eva. I think it was Zsa Zsa. And the Zsa Zsa character, the mouse, she dressed very similar to this. And Sarge says that she might be wearing a poodle. She may be, that this is a fluffy and furry outfit. Elizabeth says that she would definitely not have said that about Elvis. Yeah, it makes you wonder about what was going through her mind at that moment. I'm just reading through the chat. Here's Linda riding a bicycle. Again, probably early 80s. And there's some note in the chat that Elvis moving fast with Linda, that he's going to bring her to meet Vernon on it's really the first date. It's not even the second date, just the second time he spent any time with her. I wouldn't really think of the Memphian as a date because they didn't really expect to meet each other there. I mean, she knew she was going to meet him, but he might have known that these two Miss Universes were coming, but it wasn't a date. I think this must be also around the mid-1980s. I'm almost shocked she wore this in public. This, I think, is from, I think it's from right around 1980. All these black and white ones, they're like all done at the same time. I think it's part of like some kind of package that she got to show who she was when she went to get different jobs in the industry, in the TV industry. And Big Money Mike says that Linda is definitely a looker. There she is with George Nicopolis. But that's where we're going to end it for today. The first meeting is over. We've accomplished it. It only took us like 5 episodes to get through this one date, and we've got a lot of years to get through with Linda. So we'll probably roll into another topic in the next episode. And we'll return to Linda at some point in the future. But now she's in the rotation. We know her origin with Elvis, and we can move forward from there in future stories. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today and sharing your time with me. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to go out of here on a song, and this is going to be Glass Slippers You Left Behind. You all keep on taking care of business.
I was sitting by your side in Lisa's room with your hand in mine when you whispered of December in a church you'd already seen. You spoke of rosebuds on my dress, gold sparks shining when I turned, and I felt like a storybook princess in a world I'd finally earned. You said you'd tell the world in Memphis, 2 weeks and you'd say my name. Talk to children in the quiet like a candle's gentle flame. But the morning stole you from me like a breath that slipped away, and the plans we made together all dissolved in a single day. Oh love, I'm walking through the shadows with the glass slippers you left behind. I'll reach for you in the silence, but only memory answers mine. A part of me went with you where the spirit and the body meet, and I'm learning how to live again with one heart broken, one still beating at your feet. You said life and death were woven, 2 threads in the same design, but I shook as I knelt beside you, calling your name like it still was mine. Lisa cried and ran from the doorway, her world falling like shattered glass, and I held the ache inside me as the moment turned and passed. You always said that love was like a spark God placed in every soul. Now I search for it in the darkness, trying to trust what I can't control. If distance closes in the ending, then maybe you're not far at all. Maybe you're just in the quiet, where the Spirit hears the call. Oh love, I'm walking through the shadows with the glass slippers you left behind. I reach for you in the silence, but only memory answers mine. A part of me went with you, where the Spirit and the part of me. And I'm learning how to live again, with one heart broken, one still beating at your feet. I'll keep the dreams you gave me, no one can take them away. And I'll carry your light inside me till we meet again someday. For love is stronger than sorrow, and faith is stronger than fear. And I feel you still beside me, soft as a whisper in my ear. Slipped out the back with a bullhorn harp, over stucco walls where the flashbulbs start. Joni's got curlers, Joe's got the cash, Danny K's in the cockpit, burning jet fuel fast. Sinatra's bird, she's purring like a prayer. Christina's wings cut the desert air. Red's not on the list, he's pacing the floor, while the collar's got the press in a ballroom wall. Rona's got a sin and a Polaroid grin, but the ring's in a case with the diamonds grinning in. $15 for a license and a lie, while the best men shine with a bullseye tie. Blinded by the flight, wrapped up like a vow in the Vegas night. Blinded by the flight, when a heartbreak hits in the morning light. Oh, we were flying on a secret stream to a chapel dream, but the brother got burned by the wedding machine. Palm Springs whispers, Berlin's got the suit, but the real show's hidden in a velvet beat. Mama's flown in, Daddy's eyes are wide, while the Memphis boys are split on the right. Livich opens up his velvet chest, bullhead complex diamonds in the west. But Red's got a wound that won't sit still, he's shouting down love from the windowsill. Color's got a script and a phantom plan, he's dealing out silence with a sleight of hand. You got too many, he says with a grin, let go of the love if you wanna win. Blinded by the flight, rammed up like a bow in the Vegas night. Blinded by the flight, when the heartbreak hits you in the morning light. Oh, we were flying on a secret stream to a chapel dream, but the brother got burned by the wedding machine. Christina's wheels kissed the tarmac clean, and the ring was slipped before the world had seen. But love, oh love, it don't run on time, it breaks in the silence.